We have got some high totals littering the slate for Week 9 in NFL DFS, including a big-time showdown between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. So it is going to be a fun slate for sure. Our job today is to break down the NFL DFS main slate, letting you know our favorite plays at FanDuel and our top options at a position for this week. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Thursday by Brandon Gdula. Check him out on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, happy Halloween to you. How you doing today?
It's not Halloween.
Close enough. Closest we're going to get.
That's true. But, we'll save the Halloween takes for, I don't know, later. Maybe they'll just come up organically, but Team Almond Joy for sure, for what that's worth.
Why?
Looking to bounce back. Not the best week for me. Getting defense. It's been like, I feel like it happens every year. I'm just like, well, I want these guys, and I'll just take whatever defense. Like, I get like.
Are you sure it was the defense and not Bijan Robinson scoring like 2 points?
Why do I want to throw?
And Christian McCaffrey not doing much.
I don't want to throw him under the bus.
I don't think it was the defense that killed us last week, because I was in the same boat as you, and I didn't look at the defense slot and say, well, this is the part that I messed up.
Yeah, but you like doubled me up in our head-to-head.
Cool, and I'm still down like 6 games to 2. Sick.
It's 5-3. I mean,
close
it's not
enough. 6-2 is only 1 off.
Like, I don't know. It was. I trust the process, but
yeah,
I think we're looking to bounce back this week. It's kind of a somewhat similar slate, though. Last week, I mean, I mentioned the defenses thing, but I had like 7 different quarterbacks last week, and that's not how I build lineups. I feel like when I get it right, I want to get it right and get rewarded for that, but I couldn't commit to any quarterbacks. I probably should have just backed off. This week, it's easier to commit to some quarterbacks, but it's still a little bit open if you make the case that that Bills-Chiefs game is like more of a playoff game where teams try not to lose. I don't know if that's possible, to be honest, but we got a lot to figure out, I think, is how I'm feeling off the top. How are you doing?
I agree with your assessment on quarterback, where it is another week where you can justify a lot of guys, but the last week it was because there was no one we liked. I'm echoing what you said. I know you said the exact same thing. There was no one we liked last week. I actively like several guys this week, so I feel good about that. There's some games I like for stacking this week too, so that's my kind of slate. Some value at running back that I don't hate, so I think it'd be a good slate. We're going to dive on in and get you ready for that slate in just 1 second. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, because not just the Heat Check over there, Thursdays at noon Eastern, but also all of our covering the spread shows, breaking down the betting side of things for both college football and the NFL. I had Austin Swayman to break down college football week number 10 yesterday. Riley Thomas joined me this morning to break down thoughts on NFL week 9. And tomorrow, Andy Nader is with me to break down NFL player props for week 9 as well. All those shows on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, along with the Heat Check. Subscribe there, leave us a thumbs up, and of course, turn on notifications as well. Of course, Heat Check is also on the FanDuel Research podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online, real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777. Or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's dig in now to the slate overview for week number 9. And for me, Brandon, it all comes down to those value running backs we discussed earlier on. Because we got some options between Tyrone Tracy, maybe Travion Henderson, the Bills or the Chiefs guys they take on the Bills that could open up value for us to get to studs. That means Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. There are running backs like Christian McCaffrey and others who look pretty good too. So I think what I want to wind up doing is kind of a stars and scrubsy approach this week, using the value at running back and some value receiver too to get up to the studs at running back and quarterback specifically. That's what stands out to me here. What are the keys to you to this week 9 slate?
Yeah, I think it's really similar, but to spin it off, I guess a different way is we're always talking, even for like head-to-heads, the cash games, head-to-heads, 50-50s, like having a ceiling for your value plays. And I need to figure out, because it's about that time of year where everyone's salary settled in unless you get an injury that kind of changes things. And that's what we're going to get the rest of the way is like, okay, there's a running back stepping into some sort of ambiguous role you can't just blanket it for everyone because there's different situations this week in particular and trying to project out. But to me, it's like, okay, if I can't sell myself on someone's ceiling being at running back, I feel like if you can't get me 20 in a pretty like half a sentence, like here's how you get to 20, like I'm nervous. But if the salary's low enough and it's like, well, he got me 14 and I was able to roster somebody else, that's what I'm going to struggle with this week is like feeling, it never feels good to click those names where I'm like, this guy's not going to win me anything. But how many of those in a particular lineup am I willing to go to? Because last week had a lot of like lower salaried receivers like a Jalen Noel who wasn't ever frankly going to win me anything, but it was a receiver position. Like I'm more agreeable to kind of go on that route, but you still have to find that balance of getting those guys who have big upside. And so I think that's going to be throughout the show, figuring out which of those backs, just values in general, but really the running backs that we're going to talk about, who can kind of burn me a little bit. So who am I going to play out of like fear of missing out on a ceiling?
Yeah, before the show, you were running through some optimizers that were available for this week, and a lot of them had guys who don't have upside. So I think that's going to be a key discussion. As always, as you said, both for cash games and tournaments, ceiling does matter. So we'll dive into those value plays and see who's got the juice for this week. Let's begin that discussion by digging into key injuries for week number 9. That begins with the Niners, as always. Maybe a bit healthier this week because Brock Purdy limited again on Wednesday, but Kyle Shanahan said that Purdy at least has a shot this week. I can't decipher what he's saying, mostly because he's a liar. But, I don't know. That one's hard to figure out. Ricky Pearsall looks like he'll remain out this week. Other side of that game, Cam Scatterby will miss the rest of the year, dislocating his ankle and breaking his leg last week, which means that Tyrone Tracy could step into an expanded role. We'll talk about that game in the stacking section. Isaiah Pacheco will miss week 9, spraining his MCL on Monday Night Football. He looked pretty jazzed. He didn't tear his ACL at least, so I guess there's that at least. Happy for him for that. Kareem Hunt and Bashard Smith will fill in. They've got Eli Mitchell on the practice squad. Well, not actually on the active roster, but hasn't been active for a while. We'll talk about that game in the bookmaker section too. Ramondre Stevenson missed practice with a toe injury on Wednesday. This comes while the Patriots have been rumored to be targeting a running back via trade. They also signed Dearness Johnson to the active roster. A lot of warning signs saying that Ramondre Stevenson might actually miss this game. If he does, will you be willing to use Trevion Henderson, or does their hesitance around Henderson scare you off here?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes teams tell you things just blatantly, and sometimes they tell you things like if you read a little tiny bit into things, and it doesn't take a lot of digging to realize that for whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate what it is. It doesn't matter. What we know is this guy's been explosive, had the kick return in preseason. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy was, vaulting up, the fantasy draft boards, and it just hasn't panned out. And you can still get there. And this is like when I was talking about who's got a ceiling at low salaries that can kind of like TreVeyon Henderson has that. As Jim has this box score pulled up, 10 carries, 75 yards last week. He like Ramondre Stevenson, if he's out, he was their red zone back. He had a really good red zone role. If Henderson gets the usage between the 20s, but they go with Dearness Johnson or just pass heavy in the red zone, like Henderson might get you 90 some yards, and it's not gonna this is not going to be enough. So that there's still fear here, and I think for anybody who is maybe new to the show or newish and hasn't really heard us talk about these like value backs at low salaries in the middle of the season, is like, you can't just project this guy to have an 80% snap rate because the starter's out. Like Ramondre was playing heavy snaps. He was at like 70 some percent in I think 3 or 4 straight games. That's probably not what I would project for Henderson. And I don't know what I would actually project if I had to. So I want to be here in small doses, but this is also kind of the building blocks of like, man, I need something from TreVeyon because everything else is looking good, but maybe I'm a little low here. I don't know what your read is.
Higher. When you say in small doses, how small are we talking?
Like 20% most.
Okay. I would be well above that personally.
Really? Okay. So then tell me, what do you think his role would be?
I think that your concerns around the role are valid. I do think he would get the red zone work, though. That I feel pretty certain in. If he's going to lose work, it'll be passing game work to Terrell Jennings, because they've already said, hey, we like you in the passing game. So projected snap rate, 60 to 65%. And if you give me a 60 to 65% snap rate on a running back who we know has juice and talent for $5,300 on a team with a pretty big implied total against a defense that has led up the fourth highest success rate to opposing running backs adjusted for schedule this year. No Divine Diablo for the Falcons. I think that's a pretty good setup for me to be checking in. I'll say above 50, but I'm thinking closer, probably between 60 and 70 is where I'd wind up, just because the downside is there, which is why he's not 100%. But there is a lot of ups. There are a lot of signs there could be upside. The hesitancy they've shown is why I can't get above that number, but I can't justify going lower than that given the potential for a 65% snap rate in this offense.
So you said 60. What did you say your exposure would be? 60
to 70 is probably like my most likely range.
I feel like, I don't know, there's a way that I can frame it that's correct, but are you saying that's kind of like saying you've got about a 65% confidence rating that he's going to be that 65% snap rate guy?
Yes, I think I'd feel better. Like if we put the over under at 65% on his snap rate, I'm putting the over at 65% at like minus 135. Because he could be like 60%. And that's possible.
I mean, like, I get it. And I understand the fear. And this is admittedly one of the things that I struggle with is overcoming some of my prior assumptions or reads on something. This to me is different. Like, we're going to talk about Tyrone Tracy later on in the show. He showed it to us last year. He just got outplayed. He also kind of got himself in the doghouse a little bit.
He did.
I feel way different about that than Ramondre fumbling constantly, Antonio Gibson fumbling. And it's like, we still don't want to make this guy sort of an early down back and get him out there too much, protecting our MVP caliber, starting quarterback. So I get it. I'm probably low on the 20 to 25%, but I just would have a hard time Sunday at 1:00 as things lock up. I'm like, well, I ended up with because he made everything work. I had 77%, TreVeyon. I'm nervous about that. So I think I'm going to learn a lot about myself and this situation by Sunday.
I just know if I can do 50% Alec Pierce, a guy who only catches long balls, I should be willing to go 60 to 70% Henderson. I think that's kind of the way I view it. It's like, I'm going to get aggressive on these guys, even though I know their floor is not great.
I think for Pierce, though, 4 targets for him is going to be equivalent to an 8 target game. And Henderson might just play early downs and like again, I'm probably too low. I would maybe say you sound a little bit high, but I could be proven wrong. And I think this is one of those spots too. This is my new cop out, but like I'll check where the props are and see where things are. And I learn pretty quickly if I'm too low on someone. If I have no issues changing my opinion when I get a read on that stuff. So
betting markets tend to be pretty efficient, so I think letting them guide your process is a good way to play things. Hassan Haskins missed practice Wednesday for the Chargers, meaning we might get more Kamani Vidal as the lead back again this week for the Chargers. He was awesome in that role last week, and they're facing the Titans on the road. Titans potentially no Jeffrey Simmons once again. Vidal's salary is not low anymore. That's kind of a bummer. How do you feel about him here in a very good spot?
Yeah, it's a great spot. The salary of 7,700 feels like he should be more of a cross off to me, but it's hard to put him there because the role's been so good. 74% snap rate last week. He's at 69% in games without Amari and Hampton. 100 scrimmage yards per game, good red zone role, 40% opportunity share. So carries and targets of your team, how many went to him, 40%. I think that was, you said that was your cutoff for like good, was about 40%. I should be here, but I might be light due to the fact that it's going to be a lot easier to sell ourselves on some lower salaried backs. I know we just had a long conversation about Henderson, but he's not the only option, which is also, if he was the only option, I would have definitely changed my tune a bit. Sure. But I think I'm just going to be light here on Vidal, and I don't love it, but I also don't, it's not that scary, I guess. It's 77. Where are you with him?
I think that it's a range I won't be in super often, so it sounds like I'm in the same boat as you, where I would rather go above or below. But like, let's say I had 77 left, I'd be very okay with him. So to me, it's more about the fact that I like guys above and below him more. But like relative to salary, even though it is a high salary, I am okay with him. So sounds like we're on the same page when it comes to Vidal for this week. Joe Flacco's status is up in the air due to a shoulder injury he suffered last week. Both he and Jake Browning will take first team reps in practice this week. They're facing the Bears, so great matchup there. Other side of that game, the Bears, maybe without Luther Burden as he is in concussion protocol. Olamide Zaccheaus also sat out practice Wednesday, and he is day-to-day. Cole Kmet limited as he tries to come back from a back injury. DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and DeAndre Swift all sat out practice on Wednesday. Seems to have been maintenance for those guys. We'll talk about that game in the stacking section. Texans have a rough matchup with the Broncos, but reinforcements are on the way. Nico Collins and Christian Kirk practiced Wednesday. Dalton Schultz sat out there. I think he'll be good to go, but did sit out there. Broncos will not have stud cornerback Patrick Surtain II, but this total is still very low. It's below 40. Any interest in the Texans that should be low roster rates this week?
Yeah, this one's interesting. Two teams that if you just looked at them, I'd be like, yeah, I'd set this total under 40 for sure, based on what these defenses can do. I think it was last week after the show, I joked about like a CJ Stroud double stack, but I couldn't find documentation on Slack. I might have said it after the show. Could also have been
I think you said it in the StreamYard green room after. Yeah.
And I believe that was potentially the optimal. Had a CJ Stroud double stack, or
I used that and it didn't do well. So oops.
It was more about getting to the difference makers, which again is like kind of the theme of this week, is making sure you're using salary for something to get to the difference makers potentially. But it's a lot easier to say that than it is to do it. I still am low here. I just don't trust the Broncos like offense side too, like as much as I probably should. And I feel like this is two defenses still that can suffocate the opposing offenses. And I think both offenses have enough flaws where if this is the game that is there's the fireworks in this game offensively, and it somehow gets funneled to, the right people, especially on the Broncos side of the ball, like then I miss out. But these target shares for Denver are still not particularly good or enticing. So I just don't know if the odds this game's good for DFS are high enough to invest significant exposure to it. Yeah. And especially coming off of a week where I played too many quarterbacks, neither of these guys are on my list. So where are you with this one?
I took the over, but it's not because I love this game. I took the over because I have it at 44, and that's still going to be pretty low relative to this slate. So I have exposure via that. I don't need to get exposure via DFS. I think that the Texans will be fine enough. Like, they stink against high pressure teams, and the Broncos are very much a high pressure team. The Niners were not last week, which is why they were at least interesting. But I'll get my exposure via betting. Maybe some Nico Collins anytime touchdown stuff. I think it's more of a betting kind of setup than DFS. Maybe FanDuel picks. Could do that instead too. So I'm on board with you too. Maybe better target shares to the Broncos with Marvin Mims likely out due to concussion, but I don't think that's enough to really be super, super jazzed here. So it sounds like we're on the same page with this one. Josh Downs didn't practice Wednesday for the Colts due to a hip issue. I've not heard anything about this, so could be nothing, but we'll discuss them in the bookmaker section. Raiders look like they'll have Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers back this week. Both practice in full on Wednesday, facing the Jags, and they are indoors. Any interest in the Raiders in this one?
This is another one where I need to recheck and recalibrate my entire thought process on a team, because it's been so easy to cross off the Raiders every time we talk about them. It's just no thanks. And that doesn't always do it. And we talked about the optimizers, like Jacoby's in all of them. What's his salary? 54, I think. So I understand it from a process point per dollar projection, but Jacoby to me just doesn't have the juice for a ceiling. However, week one, there was that revenge game, but 97 yards for him. Hasn't scored through the air yet. Geno himself is not doing enough to instill confidence in me. And this Jaguars team, I believe, is second most volatile. If you take away their turnovers, they drop more than anyone other than the Bears in my defensive metrics. So with turnovers, they look like a top 11 defense. Without them, they're bottom 11. So you could sell me on hey man, maybe there just aren't the turnovers this week, but Geno's kind of been turnover friendly. I was trying to dig back into my pass rate over expectation numbers going back to week one. Las Vegas threw it a ton in week one, and they've been pretty run heavy since then. Mostly coincided, when Bowers is out there, they've been throwing the ball, which I know it's limited, but that's basically what the data says. I don't know if running Genty 25 times is just the new game plan. So I'm saying all of this to kind of see if I can sell myself on this Raiders offense. But Jacoby, even at 54, I don't know what the pure ceiling is. And then you get Brock Bowers at a salary of 6,800. There's no room for a letdown there. He has to score, has to have at least 80, 90 yards, and he could do it. I don't want to bet against that, but to tie lineups to it, it's you're buying high. And so I'm trying to sell myself on this team because I know what my faults are. I know what my biases are, especially at this point in the year. I'll try to talk myself out of it. I just don't love this side of the ball. Am I too low here?
Nope, I don't think so. I had this as being the lowest total on the slate, but at 41.7. So I'm not super high here. I don't mind some Travis Hunter on the other side. What's that?
And that's indoors too. I know.
Wins
yeah.
The overall offensive efficiency in this game is abysmal relative to the rest of the slate. So yeah, it's going to be a pass from me. Outside of maybe Travis Hunter, I just don't want to do much with this team.
So Travis Hunter, are you buying into the hype? It would make sense.
Buying into the potential for there to be a change. And his salary is low enough. We saw a bit of it before the bye. It's, again, I like uncertainty, and there's some uncertainty there for a low salary.
It's 6,000 though. It's not low.
Lowish. Yeah. For a guy who got 14 targets week before the bye, pretty low.
Yeah.
I know it was fluky the way it worked, but
no, I mean, I don't think it would I think it's worth a quick conversation because I think that he's got that slate altering upside. They said he was going to get more involved before the bye. It took until the second half and trailing for them to just start throwing him the ball. We've seen him make those Cortland Sutton plays. I'll just go get it. I'll just go make it happen. So I understand it, but I do think that there's this feels should we be pinpointing Travis Hunter indoors at a salary of 6,000 as a love. If we buy into like this guy might be the wide receiver one, or it's just like, is he Jamison Williams? And it's like, maybe I'll get there.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
I think he's an option. Other to consider is what I would label him as for right now. Just because his game is so bad. I can't make anyone a love in my lowest total on the slate, personally. Like, that's not how I roll generally. So, yeah. Falcons seem likely to have both Michael Penix and Drake London back this week, both limited in practice Wednesday. Penix took the majority of the starters reps. They're facing the Patriots, whose defense can stop the run, but does still struggle against the pass, even with Christian Gonzalez being back. So I need buy low interest in the Falcons as they get healthier.
I mean, like, buy low would be just nominal for Drake London at a salary of 7,700. This team's also outdoors. I talked last week. We did a trend on this offense and the massive splits for Michael Penix indoors versus outdoors. Just not particularly good. And we talked about like Drake London getting his target share just cut in half with Darnell Mooney. He's basically like 22% with Mooney and like 42% without him this year. And just kind of long term, that's been kind of the case. So, I mean, London's salary of 7,700 is tough. Darnell Mooney's down to 5,700. He didn't command a massive target share last week against Miami. Kyle Pitts, 51. I get it. I think the real buy low, and his salary is down for where it's been, would be Bijan Robinson at a salary of 9,000. But I don't know. I didn't see a lot of that game like firsthand. It was not particularly friendly enough to be on Red Zone a ton. And yes, I do watch Red Zone. I'm fine with that. But is this offense kind of busted, especially outdoors? Like,
you're asking the wrong person. I'm not.
Yeah, and like the salaries aren't like you said. Buy low. You're buying low.
Buying low on like
perception.
Perception, correct.
Yeah.
Not on salary. Like, I don't really feel the need to go here personally. They're outdoors.
Even with Bijan,
it would have to be via the passing game, which could happen because he's a sicko in the passing game. But the Patriots are very good against the run, so it would be like he has like 7 receptions for $110 and a touchdown through the air, which he could very well do. So I think it's important to get exposure, but I don't want to be, he's not a core play. He's like a rotational kind of guy is what I would say.
How do you do that to Bijan? I mean, this guy went from jam him in to...
Well, he was at home against a terrible rush defense. Now he's on the road against a good one.
Well, no. I'm saying like most of the year it was like jam this dude in your lineups. And now it's like, maybe I'll get some exposure. Like that's how quick things change.
He went from 10K to 9,000. And
it's just, it's like, you can't look at full season data all the time. This team had, the quarterback change last week, but like Michael Penix too, you can look at the efficiency. It's like probably not as bad as it could be. It just never feels good. He gives me like Kyler Murray vibes of like, or maybe Tua, and it's not just the left-handed. It's like, it's not like, it never looks good. The efficiency numbers are kind of flattened out, probably because it just merges like playing in a great environment for half your games. Like I know it was a pro day, but like I looked it up. He ran a 4.46 at his pro day. So and like he doesn't. I think he has 1.5 scrambles a game now. He's like got the ankle. So like maybe this team is just like, look, we got embarrassed. We believe in Michael Penix. We've got Drake London. Like, let's go show the Patriots and their MVP candidate that we can go outdoors and play. But I have no confidence here. And usually that's like an opportunity that I want to buy low in, is like that's the term you're using, is like, I do want to buy low, but like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. Not the best spot for it.
Unless we think Drake may just flamethrowers this game and they get there like on the bring back.
Meh. JJ McCarthy will start for the Vikings this week for the first time since his ankle injury. Vikings big road underdogs against the Lions. Any interest for you in the Vikings as bring back options within Lions lineups?
This is a difficult week for like the priors, because we have got a very small sample on JJ McCarthy, and it's not That's not very good based on the efficiency, but I don't want to put everything on that. My quarterback model is not nearly as like detailed and as good as Jim's, but like my model liked McCarthy come out of college, and he's got a lot of time in the NFL at this point, being able to sit back and learn. And this, we talked about just, hey, does Drake May put up points? And, there's some actual, like, chasing garbage time's not a good idea for the most part, especially with quarterbacks. You need the touchdowns and everything, but there could be enough just like making stuff happen for McCarthy to keep Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison relevant. I think Addison's salary being 74 is a bit of a downer. It's a bit high,
I think. Yeah.
I was going to say somewhere in like the 66 to 68 range, but just due to the fact that we don't know what we're getting at quarterback. But we talked about this a little bit too. You pointed out that that's not a bad thing. So where are you with McCarthy in this offense?
I think that the range of outcomes on McCarthy is a lot bigger than what the public seems to think on him, because it seems like they're just saying, okay, he's definitely bad. I don't want to make that conclusion after 2 games, one of which was against a Falcons defense we respect a lot more than we did going into that game. He also did not have Christian Darrisaw or Jordan Addison in that game. Both those guys are healthy. Darrisaw practiced in full Wednesday. Brian O'Neill, their right tackle, was limited. So the environment around McCarthy is a lot better now than it was when he last started. So I think the range of outcomes is bigger. The median expectation, I think it's okay to be low because didn't look good the first 2 games. So it's okay for the median expectation to be low, but the range of outcomes is big. And so I think the Lions are in a good spot. Jared Goff tends to handle Brian Flores' defenses pretty well. So if you want to get really weird, use your value running back for an Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Justin Jefferson mini stack, or maybe you can go Goff at quarterback with Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta, guys who work over the middle of the field against, which is where you can want to shred against Flores. I think that works out pretty well. So it'd be like a contrarian game stack, but I do think that they're very in play for that because the range of outcomes on McCarthy is wider than people think it is, I think.
Yeah, and you can't look back to the early season stuff because it doesn't include Jordan Addison. But since Addison's been back, I know it's a quarterback change here, but Justin Jefferson, over 100 yards a game, 30% target share, 45% of the team's air yards, 29% target per route run. I say 30 is about an elite cutoff, so you like to see that. But for Addison, it's like what I would expect for kind of a wide receiver too, a little bit. 21% target share, so good, not great. 35% of the air yards and 22% target per route rate. So it's not bad. It's more than just he's just another guy. I think he's talented. So the biggest issue though is the salary. Now I think what you could say is nobody's going to play JJ McCarthy because people do think he's not good, and they're trailing. He just kind of makes some stuff happen. And it's not just garbage time. He threw for 300 yards, but 1 touchdown because they just didn't score. Maybe there's a little bit more fun to that, and we know where the ball's going. So I don't know if you use the JJ McCarthy salary to get to a double stack, but you could probably do worse if you're actively avoiding in that particular lineup the chalk quarterback game of Buffalo and Kansas City. So I think if you're taking a stand in lineup, look, to me, if you're not playing Josh Allen or Mahomes in a lineup, you're actively in that situation, in that lineup. You're saying, I'm taking a stand here. They're not each going to go off in this situation. Who has something? And maybe, like you said, maybe it is JJ McCarthy. I wouldn't be there a ton, but it's a very easy way to be different, and you get exposure to some guys who can make differences.
I am more likely to use Goff than McCarthy. I will say that.
Yeah, I understand that. But if you need a little bit extra, do you think McCarthy, I know you said you're more likely to use Goff, but do you think McCarthy just kind of has some, we saw the scrappiness in that Bears game.
He'll run. Also, it is a Michigan homecoming for him. I know he's not from Michigan. He's from Evanston. Shout out Evanston. But he played college ball in Michigan, so maybe that helps too. Little narrative. We've got the Kyler Murray back in Texas kind of homecoming. We can have the JJ McCarthy back in Michigan homecoming too. Bryce Young, able to practice in full after missing just 1 week due to an ankle injury, but their whole offensive line is dust, apparently, and they're facing the Packers on the road. You'll talk about the Packers in the trend section, so we can loop in Panthers there as they bring back discussion. First, though, let's dive in to our bookmaker section for this week. And the game with the highest total on the slate is also the most fun game on the slate. That is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills. Right now, the Chiefs are slight road favorites with a total of 52.5. I say slight, but it's been inching out further and further. The money line now minus 134. Bills out to plus 114. It checks every box. It is an important game. It is a high total, tight spread, fine weather. Chiefs, no Isaiah Pacheco here due to a sprained MCL. That could be a tough backfield to decipher. So what's your view of this one for DFS, Brandon?
I mean, it's really easy to like both sides here. This is the type of game that could be, 42-35 and no one should be surprised. The issue always with the Buffalo side of things is stacking Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is by far and away the QB1, and figuring out ways to get to him is, I think, the real priority. And we have enough value at running back, potentially even in this game. Sounds like I might be a little bit higher on someone in this game than you are based on what you said. But to me, Josh Allen is kind of there's Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be, when I'm looking at a blank lineup, I probably want to plug in McCaffrey. But second, I might like Josh Allen enough to want to just see his face move over from that salary pool into the lineup. So I want to prioritize Josh Allen. I'm sure there's not a lot of pushback there, but are you on the same page?
Yes. If I give you 10 lineups, though, what's the distribution between Allen and Mahomes in this game?
Where I'm just playing 10 lineups and I'm playing both of these guys?
Uh-huh.
Probably due to the stacking concerns with Allen, like either 6'4 Allen, probably 6'4 Allen.
That's where I settle into. And it's because I feel better about Allen's rushing sticking than I do about Mahomes. I think that now that he has like was it the death lineup that the Warriors had? Was it the Warriors who had the death lineup back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
So now he has like the death lineup back out at the pass catcher position. I think he'll stop running eventually. He has not done that yet, and he might not do this in the game because it's kind of a playoff game effectively. They might need to win out to get the 1 seed. So I think that's still in their minds here. They always seem to have a thing with the Bills. So efficiency for Mahomes has been very good. Passing efficiency, a little bit worried about the running, but like, hey, it stayed there last week, the week before too, even with Rashee Rice being back. And I know where to stack him. I can go with Rashee Rice. I don't hate the idea of using Xavier Worthy still, frankly. Maybe that's just me because the salary's down to 68. His props are always super, super low now. But I still think that he has a good role. So I think it's 6-4, Allen being the 6, Mahomes the 4. And these are my 2 favorite quarterbacks on the slate.
Yeah, and like I don't think that's, rocket science to say that, but I also do think that where we're coming from in saying that is, I just mentioned last week, I played too many quarterbacks because I didn't like any of them. This week, I might play 3 quarterbacks because I'm so heavy on Allen and Mahomes. And if this game is a dud, then okay, sure, I missed out. But there's not enough in terms of who I like or feel confident in. And we have value at running back specifically, where even if I'm low on Travion a little bit, there's other names in this game and just on the board this week. So Mahomes is second for me. He is overperforming a ton in terms of his rushing touchdown expectations, but he's also a smart runner and he's going to run when he needs to. Yeah. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he's relevant. And you talked about Xavier Worthy. I think you make a good point there. It's really hard to look at the market shares because they have not played in games that were competitive, and this game should be different. So on a per route basis, Xavier Worthy in 2 games with Rashee Rice back, he's at a 17% target share, 20% target per route rate, which is fine. It's not amazing. It's about average. That could go up in a game that's competitive. But Rashee Rice specifically, 29% target share in a game, again, where like these guys just didn't play full games really. Yeah. I mentioned 30% target per route rate being elite. He is at 43% in his games back. And I don't have it off the top of my head or off like in my notes, but when he was healthy last year, he was like, he would get every target while games were close, basically. Yeah. And then, so I think that Rashee Rice paired with, even with Josh Allen, but specifically with Mahomes here, is something that I want to make sure I have way more exposure to than the public. Cause like, I know the salary's 82. I know he's had the touchdowns, but I also kind of feel like his role and his ability is just way better than what the salary is. And you want to talk about like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase on the slate too, but like this guy has a substantially better quarterback situation than, frankly, just about everybody in the league. I get that, but the salary's lower. And to me, Rashee Rice, the workload is as good as those guys. So I think Rashee Rice is going to be like, he's a love for me. Yeah. And I want to make sure that I don't bump off of him too much. I want to use value at running back to make sure I have Rashee Rice in my lineups. I'm fine with Worthy, but I do think that the gap between the two is pretty massive. And I don't want it to become like I can't get the Rice, so I'll just play Worthy. Like Rashee Rice has a workload that is, I don't want to say unmatched, but like it is phenomenal.
Yeah, they wanted the ball in his hands, and that matters. So I do like Worthy, but I agree with your thoughts on Rice too, where 82 is a good number to get him at. Let's talk about the value in the backfield here with the Chiefs side of things. You said that it sounds like you're higher on this backfield than I am, and it sounds like you're on one of them specifically. So I actually don't know which one it is between Hunt and Brashard Smith. Which one stands out to you?
It's the guy who won't go away and who can have 3 touchdowns in a game. Okay. And it's Kareem Hunt. I know the yardage upside might be a little bit low, but it's a kind of for in the salary. He's going to take over a lot of the high leverage work. He's going to have, there's a reason like Isaiah Pacheco just never fully broke out on a massive basis with Kareem Hunt active. Like I think these single digit carry numbers are going to go up. I'm not saying he's going to be a 25 carry guy because this is the most pass heavy team in the league by pass rate over expectation, but I don't feel bad plugging in like the goal line back plus in a game where I expect, over 50 points easily here, like as my sort of baseline projection. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. So I think that when you give me like Kareem Hunt, who has been a key part of this offense for years now, against Travion Henderson, whenever he can't get on the field as much, like I know there's a salary difference, but Kareem Hunt or Travion to you, who would you rather play? Well,
Travion, I feel like will have a better yardage upside, and will probably have a better, like he's more likely to be the guy versus Hunt is definitely going to split with Brashard Smith.
Yeah.
So I would rather go Henderson than Hunt personally.
Okay. I won't offer you a head-to-head bet because I understand where you're coming from and there's a $600 salary difference, but
and part of it's about upside too, not like median expectation. I think the Hunt's fine, and I'll use him because this Bills defense stinks against like powerful backs, and like that's what he is. So I prefer Hunt over Smith. So yeah,
their interior is like
Ed Oliver's out. Like that's they've got injuries elsewhere too. So
I understand not expecting 30 from Kareem Hunt, but he's been flirting with he punches in a touchdown so often. Like if he does it, I just feel like there's a chance for 20 at 5,900 that is higher than it sounds like you believe there is.
No, I'm fine with 20. I'm worried about 25.
I think that's being nitpicky at this salary.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt or Tyrone Tracy?
I'm a Tracy guy. What's Tracy's salary?
6,000 flat.
I'd probably go Tracy.
Yeah, I would too.
By a smidge.
Yeah. But I think that all three of those guys, Hunt, Tracy, and Henderson, are in the pot. They're guys we can use this week, which I don't.
Do you think you would have a lineup or lineups with just go all three of those value backs?
If I can get a Jefferson, Rice, like that kind of thing, yeah.
Because like in that case, if Henderson, even if we meet in the middle here of like, okay, he's like a 55% snap guy. He's got a big run or two, punches in a touchdown. Tracy just takes over like a substantial workload. He's not Cam Scatterbo in terms of, creating extra yards. And then Kareem Hunt gets you like 70 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown or two. Which again, I'm comfortable saying 2 because this game I think could get kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
That's a slate unlike we've had, I think, all year.
Yeah, I agree. Any Brashard Smith for you?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't either, because I don't think they trust him yet, and this is a big game. And like that's the big thing, is they haven't really shown us that they trust him yet. Like the 14 carry game is when Mahomes left in the third quarter. Like they were like, yeah, we're good. So they haven't given him like meaningful snaps yet, really. And I think he'll get like good passing game work, but I don't really want Justice Hill, like if that's what he's going to be. So I will probably have I'll have enough stacks in this game where I'll have like a share of Smith or 2, but it'll be extremely limited and it'll be only in game stacks where I think this game gets stupid. Other side is James Cook, $8,400. He's one of those guys who is so hard to figure out because his range of outcomes is immense. He can have a couple games in the single digits, but then he can go for 36 the week after. This Chiefs defense, for the most part this year, has not been very good against backs. It's been better recently than they were before, but they're not that good. And if this game goes berserk, there's a good chance that James Cook is involved. So I need him in game stacks. I really don't feel the need to get there in non-game stacks, though. Where are you on James Cook?
Yeah, I pointed this out and I didn't really get there enough last week, which was a bummer despite like a difficult matchup on paper in terms of like solid last week. The Chiefs, there's not a lot of big games against the Chiefs so far by running backs. That's the big concern, but I also think that James Cook I just feel like he's Derrick Henry at this point. Like, he's not prime Derrick Henry. He's not Derrick Henry now. He's like Derrick Henry as we kind of just would collectively think of Derrick Henry you can point out the matchup or whatever, but he just broke off a 70-yard touchdown. It didn't matter.
Yeah, cool, man.
Like he's got that a bit and then you feel silly he does this stuff. And in this game, I don't think he's going to get phased out a ton. So I do think there's a bit of a balancing act. The biggest issue with this is the salary, because there isn't room for the letdown game. But I have a hard time believing that. I don't know. Like then I look back at what the Chiefs have let up. They've like Justice Hill got there against the Chiefs, like Cam Scatterbo did as well. But like nobody else really had a massive game against them. So there's that. But it's also like you can't just point to that because James Cook kind of is that guy. So I need to be there more than I think I'm like comfortable with, even at the salary, because of the potential that he just puts a flamethrower to us.
Yep, which he can do. Let's talk about the Bills pass catchers. Khalil Shakir, $6,100. Keon Coleman, $52. And then, of course, Dalton Kincaid, $54. I'm okay with all of them. None of them are priority targets for me because I don't think they can be. I'll use them in game stacks. I'll probably stack Allen in every lineup that I use him, and I'm okay with there being some duds in there. How do you feel about the Bills pass catchers?
I am so sick of this team and their pass catchers. I'm gonna ask you how many my face every time I play one of these guys. So okay, I gotta take out James Cook here. I have put up a query of just the Bills skill players this year in terms of FanDuel points. They've got 6 games this year with over 17.8 FanDuel points.
Okay.
James Cook has 5 of those 6. Keon Coleman got to 21.2 against the Ravens in week 1. I need to start like gathering these numbers, but if you want to talk about like maybe Kareem Hunt not having like 25 points is like a great game for a running back. I think you probably put 20 for that on pass catchers. Like these guys don't really do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't like maybe 1 week, a couple extra targets, an extra like deep pass goes someone's way. I'm just really tired of playing these guys, and it's not like a fatigue, like, I'm just sick of it. I want to change things up. It's like, I'm tired of like tying Josh Allen lineups to someone whose ceiling is somewhere in like the 17-point range, and they don't always get there.
Yeah.
So I get that. Like, I think I'm with you where it's like, I'm okay with all of them, but what's your max exposure to any one of these guys?
Oh gosh, like preferably like 15, 20%.
Right. And so like, we'll put it this way. However many Josh Allen lineups you have, what percent of those will be by himself?
15.
Oh, just 15?
Yeah, I will mix in these guys because like, I know they haven't done a lot this year, but the Bills also have not played in a ton of hyper competitive games, and this will be that. So I
like Kincaid most.
I don't mind Kincaid. I know this will sound weird, and you might
Shakir, think Keon Coleman.
No, you're gonna think I'm a body swap because I actually do like Shakir.
Okay.
The Chiefs have faced the lowest ADOT in football this year, adjusted for schedule, and Shakir fits in really well with that. Had a really nice run to the catch last week. His target shares have been pretty good. He gets work in the red zone, so I'm not a Shakir guy because I like guys with more juice, but like he's got some juice and like he's in a really good game. Salary's not that high at 61, so I'm going to use Coleman as well, 52, because like he has juice. But I think Shakir is my favorite. Like if I had, let's say 10 Allen lineups, I'll have just one naked. Let's do 9. I'm probably having like 4 Shakir, 2 Kincaid, 2 Coleman. Might double up on a couple of those, but like put Kincaid in like a Shakir lineup and stuff like that. But so more. I'll actually wind up having more Kincaid, but like I do think Shakir's my preferred guy here.
Yeah, I was gonna go about 30 to 40% just Allen by himself and not
or Allen with like Cook. You could do too. Which
sure,
works,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Chiefs don't play a ton of single high safety. Play a higher than average rate of cover 2.
Yeah,
which lends itself more to a Shakir game than Keon Coleman game. So
yeah. Any final thoughts in this game?
Despite any nitpicks I have, I like just about everybody we talked about. So,
yep, play all the dudes.
Oh wait, we didn't talk about Kelsey.
I think he's fine.
He's fine.
I'll put him in some Mahomes lineups, but not a standalone play.
Yeah, I don't think I'm much different than you there.
Okay, let's move then to our second game of this week. That is the Bears and the Bengals. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Bears favored by 3. Total in this game, 50.5. Another high total here for the Bears this week. And that number has come down because there is uncertainty around Joe Flacco's shoulder, but also a lot of injuries in the Bears offense. So neither offense is elite. Both defenses stink. Is that enough for you to stack this game, Brandon?
I mean, this is a Flacco injury to his throwing shoulder too.
Correct.
Like, that is not good. This team has. I know there were kind of the jokes of like, is Joe Flacco an upgrade from Jake Browning in 2025? It's like, yeah, we kind of learned he was being able to get the ball out, get the ball near Jamar Chase. Like Jamar Chase with Joe Flacco is, by the target share numbers just breaking kind of fantasy football. It's pretty wild. 18 targets per game, 115 yards, 46% target share for Jamar Chase, and a 44% target per route rate. Like, I mean, we kind of had our jaws drop a bit at Rashee Rice at 42%, but Jamar Chase at 44%. Like, just finding ways to get him the ball, throw it near him. What a novel idea. You have a great player. Just try to throw it around him. Like, I think a lot of teams could learn from that. Eventually it can get shut down, but it hasn't really yet with the yardage being solid there and almost 3 straight 100-yard games for him in this split. So, the salary being what it is with a quarterback who I don't know if he can throw the ball, I'm probably not going to get there. I just wanted to use that as an opening for, I don't know what to expect here because this is a situation where they might try to run the ball and like Chase Brown's looked a bit better. They've gotten Samaje Perine a bit more involved in a sense. So like maybe they try to run the ball a bit more. I don't love it. And I don't love that I'm going to be low on Jamar Chase, but I think it makes sense at the salary to be with the Flacco injury.
And I'm going to be lower on this entire game personally than, like, frankly, every piece in this game I might be underweight on across the board, because I think this game is overrated from a betting perspective. I have the total way lower than this, and that's with Flacco assumed as in and like fully healthy. If I take Flacco out and put in Jake Browning, I'm gonna it might be my biggest disagreement between where I'm at and where the market is this entire year. That's happened a lot in Bears games because they have such a bad defense. It happens more in Cowboys games, frankly. And offense drives my totals model more than defense does. And just neither offense is good enough for me to be super, super high on this game. Then I look at the individual names here. Chase Brown 72 is not really, with Perine getting more involved. Swift is fine at 69 just because the matchup is so good, but Monungai keeps getting more and more involved. Swift is banged up, so I don't feel amazing about that, especially with the value backs we discussed, plus Jalen Warren at 65 right beneath him as well. Adunze is banged up and the salary's gone up. DJ Moore can't buy a target, it feels like, especially a downfield one. T. Higgins 73, Jamar Chase 97. I might just completely fade this game entirely, honestly. I do like Caleb Williams 73. He's the one guy I'm yeah, I can see that. Just because the salary's low and the matchup's really good. And then I'll get to the receivers. But outside of that, I think I'm just super low on this game.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is a Bears defense is bad kind of thing getting
correct.
My model also is very low on this game.
Okay.
If I look at the underlying data, this actually might be the largest discrepancy I have.
Yeah.
No, but I actually got to update this, so don't hold me to that. But Chicago's defense is much better than what they've put on paper. They're 29th in points per play allowed, but I have them not nearly as bad as that, kind of average. And I think that's probably part of it too. So I don't know. Nobody here gets me excited. Caleb's the closest I get.
Yeah.
And then are we going back to Rome?
I have to if I use Caleb because no one else gets high leverage targets.
He's at I guess last week without Kmet, 29% of the targets. With Kmet, he's at 24%. The money targets go to him. That's about it. So I guess you get Caleb and Rome. Can you play any Bengal? We can play to. Right. T. Higgins, his role is just okay.
He had a huge touchdown last week, and it's dang, I should have used T. And then he had no other catches the rest of the day.
Yeah. The target share is just not there. And maybe that changes, but I don't see why I think they're going to run the ball more if your quarterback's got
I agree.
Was it an AC joint? So
yeah,
I'm with you. I actually, honestly, when you said this game, I was wait, this game's in this section. And then I realized why. And I'm okay, maybe. And look, I've been wrong on these. There are some games with elevated totals that I'm I don't see it. And then they pan out, but this is a very narrow path, I think, to having this game score a lot of points, and it's that Joe Flacco's not very hurt.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm okay being lower on this game, and we'll see how the cards fall, but I think that's the way I wind up playing things here. You mentioned 3 quarterbacks. Is Caleb the third one? I'm assuming not, but I wanted to check on that.
I didn't really have a specific name in mind, but it's more about keeping it.
Is he in the
really
consideration
tight.
set for that other one that's not Allen or Mahomes?
Yeah, I think so.
He'd be there for me too. That's the one thing I can get behind here. Let's talk about our third game here in the bookmaker section then. That is the Niners at the Giants. Niners, maybe Brock Purdy back. Still not super sure about that. It kind of feels like the market is saying he will be, though, because the spread's 2.5 on the road. Total is 48.5, which is very high. No Cam Scatterby for the Giants, which could open a value there for Tyrone Tracy. So what's your view of this game from a DFS perspective?
Like this one a good bit. So it feels a lot freer than the other game that we just talked about.
I feel less tense thinking about this game than I do about Bears. I feel like I'm clenching thinking about the Bears and the Bengals, whereas this I'm heck yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange too. This is a very massive defensive shift for the Niners, but they're coming off of a game where they ran no plays. I think they ran 14 plays in the first half or something absurd. Jeez. It was I have to look it up. Don't quote me on that, but it was you just saw the clock melting and just like, okay, what is happening here? And to go into that, like from that, but that's on the road against the Texans, to another road game. I get that, but I feel a lot better about the Niners this week than I even did last week, which I was still okay with Christian McCaffrey. I love Christian McCaffrey this week. The workload should be there. It's kind of nice to get him a little bit of a week off with 8 carries and 6 targets. Like that's basically not even playing by Christian McCaffrey standards. So he should be a little bit freshened up, hopefully, with that. And on the other side, we have value options across the board, like honestly at different positions. But Tyrone Tracy, we liked him a good bit last year, stepping into a situation against a defense on the road for the second straight week after looking pretty vulnerable against a team that is not perfect offensively with Houston, especially with last week with their injuries. So I think this could be a bit more offensive friendly. So running back stacks here are pretty enticing to me, honestly.
I agree, because I just feel good about both the running backs in this game. And I also agree with you about like the overall like thoughts in this game where it just feels a bit freer than the other one. McCaffrey's salary is $9,500, and that is not low by any means, but you can't have a more different matchup from this week to what he had last week. We just saw Saquon Barkley run all over this Giants defense. He had been, I thought, hurt all year, and all of a sudden he just erupts. McCaffrey is getting elite usage. So far this year, he is at 35.8 carries plus 2x targets per game with 131 yards from scrimmage and a 61% red zone share. It's insane usage. And now facing a team that has struggled to stop the run so far this year, that's good for McCaffrey. Got low salaries on both Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. I actually think it's a minimum 1 quarterback game. Because, like, even if we don't get Brock Purdy, I'd use Jackson Dart at 74. I think that's worth considering. The Niners cannot generate a pass rush. This Giants offensive line has played very, very well this year. And Dart runs a lot. Even when they were down big last week, they still had him run, which was stupid. But, like, they did it. And probably means they're going to keep on doing it here. So, low salary, running quarterback who runs a lot near the goal line, slight home underdogs in a spot where I think the offense will be efficient. I think he's in the Caleb Williams bucket where it's like, I'd consider this guy as being quarterback 3 this week. Are you willing to go that far on Dart or no?
I mean, I know they're different quarterbacks, but this Niners team just let up 318 to CJ Stroud, who was playing without his top 2 receivers. Sure. And we like CJ Stroud on the show, but
we
that
don't
was
like the Texans offense though.
Right. Their offensive line not really helping out Stroud, but he, without being, I don't have the pressure data pulled up to see how much he was actually pressured. But he hadn't thrown for over, he maxed out at 244 before that and got to 318. I want to say he was on pace for 400, I think, going into halftime, or very close to it, if memory serves. And honestly, you got to go up against Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. And again, maybe you're just like that game's not going to be very good. Like it's going to get ugly, and you guys are stupid for paying the salaries for those guys. But if they're good, Jackson Dart's one of the types of quarterbacks who can kind of do on a per dollar basis enough to get me, the other difference makers. And Dart, he's going to have to run. He might run a bit more without Scadaboo. He might, that whole team was distraught with the Scadaboo stuff because he was such a glue guy. Yeah. I'm not projecting like Jackson Dart's going to go try to run for 3 touchdowns, but like this team they're not rolling over by any means. Like this team is, and Jackson Dart had a long touchdown pass called back on, I could see like a push off basically.
Yeah, he extended his arms. People were so mad about that, but I'm like, I had Darius Slayton in DFS and I thought it was fine.
I like watch the frame by frame and you see, I don't know which cornerback it was.
He got his arms all the way out. Like, what are we complaining about here?
Like there was like a 1 frame difference of they're jammed up against each other. And then one, there's like 5 yards of separation.
I thought it was a good call. And I like Jackson Dart. I like Darius Slayton. I was fine with it.
feel like this is one of those, the box score itself doesn't look phenomenal, but could have been better. I do think that you're right where there's like a level of explosion here for Dart in this matchup where he should not get super pressured. He might honestly be a little bit more appealing to me than Caleb.
So you were asking about the pressure rate for San Fran last week?
Yeah.
League average, based on my numbers, like 34%. What would you want to guess?
That they generated on
against Houston? Yeah.
Like 10%.
It was 21%. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I assumed it was,
which would be the worst in the league if it were their full season number. So
yeah, full
bad,
season, but
very bad. But like a Dart, Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe you put Slayton in there too, or actually Dart, Tracy, Wan'Dale, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, like just like go like full like, you know, doing it kind of lineup. I don't hate that. I think this kind of game can justify that.
This week feels to me like it's so obvious with Buffalo and Kansas City to want to try to stack that one up. I think there's going to be a semblance of, well, this game was good too. And like that game was good too. And you get the value pieces that exist in like a standalone situation, and you hit the right game stacks where there's points. It does, like there were not, I think Austin Cass was maybe the one who pointed out on our Slack, or no, I think it was Skylar Carlin instead. Pointed out that there was one game within 10 points last week.
Yeah.
Like if we get another one of those, I think like not another one of those specifically, but another one of those where it's like, well, there were 3 good games and the rest were not very good.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, like I don't love a lot of these games. This game is one that I love. So stacking it up and getting the chalk elsewhere makes sense to me.
Yeah. Deacon on YouTube asked, if you're playing Dart, who do you stack him with? Or are you stacking with anyone? And if so, who? I am willing to stack him with everybody, which is dangerous. But like Wan'Dale Robinson at 59, he's actually getting downfield targets this year. And he's played, I think, really good football this year. In the games without Malik Neighbors, let me pull up the actual target shares here for Wan'Dale. Okay. In those games, 25% target share, 28% deep, and 14% in the red zone is not amazing, but like that's good enough for me. I
think that with Slayton. Is that with Slayton?
It includes the game that Slayton missed, but also like I'm fine with that personally because Slayton's just such a different kind of player. Slayton, I still think has upside. He hasn't shown that this year. I think his salary should be 52 and not 55, but like he can have a huge game by long balls. And then Theo Johnson, 53. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't get there, but like Tracy, yes, I'll stack with Dart. Wan'Dale, yes. Slayton, yes. So everyone else I'm pretty cool with personally. Are you okay? Are you as high on Wan'Dale as I am? Because I'm usually lower on him than most.
In games without Neighbors, but with Slayton, I have Theo, Wan'Dale, and Slayton all at 18% of the targets, with Theo being a red zone monster.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a little bit lower on Wan'Dale than you are.
Okay.
I'd probably just go Theo, but I'm very okay playing Dart by himself and just assuming nobody has like an amazing game by themselves as your pass catcher.
Okay.
But if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Theo for the touchdown combinations there.
Okay. And then Niners side, we love McCaffrey. How are you feeling about Juwan Jennings and George Kittle?
Yeah. Kittle to me remains, I know I talked about Theo here, but Kittle is just, he's the guy.
He's in the tight end one consideration. Yeah.
Like I just want to get there. In 2 games with him back, the target share is only 13% with a 15% target per route rate, but he was kind of just forgotten in that Atlanta game, which was a letdown. But 4 for 5 and 43 and a touchdown last week. I just think that to me, you get a potential quarterback upgrade here.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Like to me, Kittle is the name at 6K. Maybe that 6 scares some people off too, but you get Brock Bowers at 68. Like George Kittle can do what Brock Bowers can do for a much lower salary. So when my expectations are that this is a great offensive game, I want to have a lot of George Kittle this week.
Yep, same here. How about Jennings? 7 targets last week, 7 targets the week before. Looks like he's healthier and still no Pearsall. So I will have Jennings in my game stacks. I don't mind that personally. I don't want to get over my skis, as you would say. But like, I think he's a game stack play.
He's a game stack play for sure. 2 weeks with Kittle back, 26% of the targets, 37% of the air yards, just a 20% red zone share, but 43% of the money targets. So that's whenever he's inside the 10 or in the end zone when targeted. So just, you set out over your skis. I'll say your thing of like the building blocks. The building blocks are there for like a big game for Jennings. Seems like he's getting healthier. And so I think Jennings to me makes a lot of sense this week. Very, very easy game to stack due to salaries, even whenever you consider McCaffrey. So this one feels a lot better to me than the Bengals and Bears.
I could not agree more. And frankly, there are other games I like more than that one too. So I probably could just admitted that one from the bookmaker section, but it's got a high total. So I figured we had to discuss it there. Let's go now to our trends discussion for week number 9 and begin things with the Green Bay Packers because they are big favorites at home this week, taking on the Carolina Panthers. That means that their implied total is very high, and the Panthers defense let up 40 to the Bills at home this past week. So you're going to dig into the Packers as big favorites and see what we can see within them for this week. What'd you find when you dug into that data?
Oh, brother. Yeah. This team also, there are a lot of teams that just frustrate me.
Yeah.
Packers are definitely one of them, but they're facing this team in Carolina that just, like, I get it. The stuff on paper looks better than you would think for Carolina, but they just did not have a lot of answers last week for the Bills. And I want to say, like, okay, Packers, big spread, no thanks. We got to look here because their implied team total is massive. And if we're low on one of the big games from a bookmaker standpoint, we have to be higher to sort of account for it elsewhere, even if it's not a total bring back situation. But I'm going to start with Jordan Love here, looking at this team as big favorites. My database has the Packers as touchdown favorites in 7 games where Love played, and in those, under 15 FanDuel points, just over 200 passing yards, 1.6 touchdowns, didn't run a ton, 13 yards per game. But in other games, 17.3 FanDuel points, 241 yards, 1.8 touchdowns. Not a ton on the ground, but like this guy's got 1 30-point game in his career in terms of FanDuel scoring. And I don't know if this is the right recipe for that. He was on pace for like a massive game last week. But on pace, like the numbers were there, but that's kind of like the best you can get, I think, from Jordan Love in a sense. And it's really, really good, but that's also like the high end, I think. And there was pushback, and I don't know if we're going to get a game that was close. I don't know if we're going to get a close game this week. So to me, that puts me like, I'm trying to find a QB3. I don't think it's Jordan Love this week. I still question like the ceiling for everybody else. Now, I guess the one thing I will say, just to contradict myself, we had Christian Watson back, and honestly, Christian Watson played more than I thought. Like Christian Watson's has not been healthy enough to play like a lot of snaps whenever he's been out there, but played more than I expected. 62% of the routes, 4 targets on 23 routes to 17%. It's slightly below average, but I think that could grow. And 45% of the air yards. So that's enticing. And I don't think that we saw the max capacity Christian Watson. So the joke is like this team just got a bunch of wide receiver 2s. Christian Watson's like, I don't know if he's like a true wide receiver 1, but he's more like a 1.5 than he is like a 2.5, I think, when he's fully healthy, if that makes any sense to anybody but me. But does it not?
No, it makes sense.
Okay. The real wide receiver 1 here, though, I think is Tucker Kraft, who's just he's the man. 26% target share, 9 targets, 7 catches, $143, 2 touchdowns, 28% target per route rate with Watson back. You love to see that. Next up was Romeo Doubs at a 17% target share. He had 40% of the air yards, so just a lot of the downfield work went concentrated on Doubs and Watson. 19% target per route rate, so kind of scaled back there for Doubs. So he's probably not really someone I'm targeting a ton unless we go the angle of the touchdowns go his way because his red zone role is still probably going to be good. But Watson and Emmanuel Wilson each had 11% of targets. Matthew Golden, Josh Jacobs, Malik Heath all getting 3 targets, which was 9%. The Matthew Golden stuff, I like him. I liked him coming out of college. His target share, even with receiver injuries, never spiked, and I don't expect it to now. So no interest there. So Kraft, Dobbs, Watson, and Golden, like I think they'll be the target leaders long term. But to me, it's more about Kraft and probably Watson over Dobbs at this point, just because I think he's a pretty phenomenal football player when he's healthy. And then you look at the running backs, like this should kind of script out as like a Josh Jacobs situation, but the roll's been down since he's got the calf injury, 57%, under 50%, 57% snap rate in 2 straight. The yardage is down. Still a good red zone roll, but Emmanuel Wilson's pretty good, I think, honestly. And I think he's going to eat away enough here and maybe Jacobs, this is a week where he's fully healthy and they just kind of, you need to be there, but they probably don't have to run him into the ground. He was limited in practice Wednesday. Like I dug in here. I don't think it's Love. I don't think it's Jacobs, but Kraft still deserves some attention. And I think Christian Watson is someone that I usually have been, it's been so long since he's been relevant for us. But at 5,700, I don't know if it really captures what his true ceiling is if that role continues to expand. So I think the biggest thing I learned here was that I'm higher on Christian Watson than I would have expected. However, with his profile being what it is, I have to make sure that I'm like keeping things in check.
Yeah.
Do you like any Packers this week? Do you love any Packers this week? What's your read here?
Kraft's fighting Kittle for tight end 1, I think. Given the massive implied total, given the fact that he's just like a good football player and like keeps earning targets. The rest, though, it's like, I don't feel the need to go there because we talk a lot about, we sometimes get too low on teams that are big favorites. We're afraid they'll throttle down. I think that's true when there is concentrated usage. When there is not concentrated usage, it's like reduced volume and still spread out shares. Will anybody torch me for not using them? Probably not. Kraft could. He's the one guy where I've got some FOMO, but like the rest, I don't really feel it. I prefer if we're looking at like deep threats with like mid-range salaries, if there's no Josh Downs, Alec Pierce is pretty fun. If it's the same salary as Watson, Darius Slayton's in that range, Wandale's in that range. So I might not get to Watson. I think I'm a bit lower on him than you, but like I do think that Kraft is legit and a guy I'm very willing to target this week. The rest, though, nothing.
Carolina's 3rd worst in yards per route run allowed to tight ends this year.
Seems bad. Yep. Okay. I'll take that.
And no, the Watson thing is more like I think he's a big play receiver.
He is.
In an offense where his quarterback could throw for like 250 and 3 in the first half.
Sure.
And like that kind of thing.
Like he could have $120 and 2 touchdowns on 2 catches.
He could, and he could have like 50% of the team's. There are some of those like game logs you look back and it's like, this guy had like half of the team's receiving yards in both of the touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys I'd put in that bucket.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not like, I don't love him, but I do think that you could do worse.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's talk about my trend for this week then, which is going to revolve around the Pittsburgh Steelers because they play in a game with a super high total this week, but haven't played on many main slates this year. Or like at least recently. So I want to dig in and kind of see if we should consider them as they face a Colts defense that I'm not super scared of personally. First off, the Steelers have been efficient. They rank 12th in Number Fire's schedule adjusted efficiency rankings. They're 10th in passing, 17th rushing. It also does seem pretty sustainable because they've been good on both early and late downs. Usages, though, not super concentrated. In 5 games with Calvin Austin, DK Metcalf leads a 21% target share. Austin is second at 17%. Austin actually has more deep targets in those games than Metcalf. He has 9. Metcalf has 3. Metcalf, though, has a 31% red zone target share. We know Metcalf can get downfield work, and he has 50 plus yards in 4 straight. That includes a $126 in a game he played with Austin. Salary at 76 is higher than I'd like it to be, but he does at least work for a bring back if I decide to use a Colt. Austin's salary is $5,600, and I do think he has a path to 85 yards or 2 touchdowns, which is kind of the criteria for us at receiver. So I can consider him for game stacks, but it'd be on the lower end of the scale for that perspective. I think the best play in this game, though, is Jaylen Warren. He has 130 yards from scrimmage twice this year, averaging 94.7 per game, 46% red zone share as well, which is a very good number. So for $6,500, I can get behind that. So the Steelers are not a fun offense for DFS, but this is a good game. They bring a value back and two guys I can tolerate at wide receiver. How are you viewing the Steelers against the Colts this week?
Yeah, it's been since week 6 that they've been on the main slate. Haven't had a lot of great matchups for us to target when they've been on the main slate. So just a team we haven't really thought of, but another example of where we have to change our opinion a bit on teams. I know it's week 9, so it's like, I'm not saying this is, oh yeah, I guess this team's playing pretty well, I should look at them, but more, I would like to just kind of write them off. I think my question to you, specifically with Warren, is you've been doing more with like opponent adjusted positional data. Like, where do you have the Colts against running backs? Because if you look at like the game logs, I'm not saying they've played the best running backs, but nobody's really gotten there. Mm-hmm. And I like Jaylen Warren, but I don't know if it's a situation where it's Indianapolis looks solid by who they've played, or if they're a better than a good enough defense that we should get a little bit hesitant when it comes to running backs.
Yeah. They rank 25th in EPA per play allowed to running back, EPA per carry allowed to running backs. And in success rate, they are Where are they? 21st. So below average in both those. Haven't let up a lot of explosives. They're about league average in that regard. So they have been okay against running backs, tiny bit below average. I think a lot of the reasons that backs haven't done a lot against them is they've blown a lot of teams out. Like that's a big part of it, I think. They're not a team that I fear personally against backs. Now, I did use Kamani Vidal against them, and that did not go well. So maybe that's a concern, but like, I think there's enough here to be high on Jaylen Warren, given his workload this year, given his red zone role, frankly, and the fact that he's low salary, high total, tight spread, the exact kind of boxes we want to check at running back.
Yeah, I don't say that to be out. I just want to make sure that we're not, going headfirst into a tough matchup. But yeah, the production for him's been great when he's been healthy. You probably mentioned this, but 46% red zone opportunity share. Love to see that. The yardage is there. Shouldn't really get scripted out as a pass catcher either. So I don't mind that by any means. You might be a little bit higher on the pass catchers just because I still don't fully love the target shares. So
I think they're thinner than Warren, and they're more so guys I'm okay with if I have a Colts stack. I'm not going to have the most Colts stats, but like I'll have the name stack of the Warren game stack of Tyler and Jalen. I think both those guys are in pretty good spots. I'll have some Alec Pierce if there's no Josh Downs, stuff like that. And I do need to get some Jonathan Taylor, despite a massive salary for this week. Weather is not too bad. Only game that stands out to me as far as having like bad winds is up in Green Bay. That is for the Packers and the Panthers in that game you just discussed. 11-mile-per-hour winds there, so not anything that's scaring me off Tucker Kraft by any means, and not using a lot of Panthers anyway. So don't think that's a huge concern, and overall we can feel pretty good about the weather for this week. So let's dive in now and go position by position on FanDuel, break down our top plays for week number 9. Let's begin things at quarterback. Brandon, we've already discussed the 2 studs available to us. Those are Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Anybody else in consideration for quarterback 1 for you this week?
I don't think I could go that far. No.
I agree. I think it's really just those 2 in a tier of their own. I think they're in the same tier together, which is kind of why we had the 6-4 discussion, Allen over Mahomes. I think it's kind of like a 1A, 1B situation. I build the majority of my lineups there and then find some other guys I can use elsewhere as like my quarterback 3.
Yeah. I see that name. One of the reasons I paused was the third name on the list, Justin Herbert against the Titans. Little bit of pause there of like, why not him? Don't know if he's going to have to do a ton though, is the biggest issue. And I do not trust this Titans team to do anything to give us any semblance of pushback. So I can't really even talk myself into, well, it's close through 3 quarters. They're kind of taking their foot off the pedal in the third, but like, it just doesn't seem like I can get there. So
if it's close, it's probably because the Chargers are underwhelming,
which is not that shocking.
Yeah, exactly.
To think about.
Not going to Bo Nix against the Texans, not going to Danny Dimes against Pittsburgh. I think May is fine against the Falcons, but not a situation where I'm like super itchy to use him. So the next guy I actually want to use is Jared Goff at 76. Anybody else you want to highlight before we get down to that range?
I think May is my current QB3.
Okay, cool. Sell me on
why. Him. Well, it's not just pull up the box score, but like whether it's rushing or passing, he gets you there somehow, some way. I am not concerned about the matchup here, and there's also, potential running back concerns. They could skew a little bit pass heavier, especially whenever everybody's got their eyes on the MVP race for this game in Orchard Park. Hey, maybe it's like, let's get Drake like a 4th touchdown pass and like keep him like, let's not
don't forget about me.
Go make a statement at 1 p.m. So, and like, that's not just a joke. Like the betting odds are, it's kind of a 3-person race at this point. And again, we're going to learn a lot about how things go at that Kansas City at Buffalo game, but there's more to it than just, well, it would be great to keep him in the MVP conversation. I'm not concerned about this matchup to any substantial degree. And he's gotten 20 points consistently. He's got 27 in 2 of his last 3. He doesn't even have a 300-yard passing game. And I don't think it's because he's not a good enough passer. Like the efficiency numbers are great. Hopefully there's a little bit of that like pushback and a little bit of back and forth. But to me, May is the person I would feel. He was kind of like, he's a little bit like Bo Nix was last week of don't love anybody. So why not Bo Nix in this spot? I think it's like when I don't get to one of those top 2, I feel really good with May, but I do think you make a good point with Goff being in that conversation as well.
Yeah, for me, the consideration set for my QB3 this week is going to be Jared Goff, Jackson Dart, and Caleb Williams. And I might toss Williams out of there just given like just a lot of injuries in that game, which is underwhelming. I think he's still a consideration, but let me give you the pitch for Goff and Dart. Goff is at home, huge implied team total, playing indoors, coming off a bye against a defense that he has traditionally shredded because he's willing to attack over the middle of the field. And that's where Brian Flores defenses tend to be weakest. And we know who to stack him with. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. JMO is not the best match for this kind of defense. So I think they do want to get him going out of the bye, but not the best spot maybe for that. And I can stack him with Jahmyr Gibbs too. Bring it back with Justin Jefferson, maybe Jordan Addison. I think he makes sense. Dart, it'd be for the rushing and also just a good matchup, given San Francisco, again, cannot rush the passer. I know where to stack Dart. I can get a really good value stack with Wandale, making it easier to get to Christian McCaffrey, get George Kittle in there too. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm leaning towards Goff being my quarterback 3, just because, again, I don't think people will be here. I think this game could be more fun than advertised. So to me, it's probably Goff as my quarterback 3. I get the case from May for sure. I think it's a good call. But I like Goff and Dart, I think.
Yeah. I think I'm with you where I'm bumping out Caleb from the conversation.
Okay.
A lot of cover 2 for Minnesota. We'll talk more about the receivers in a bit, but I think you make a good case with Goff just kind of carving things up underneath. I still think I'd go May, though, honestly.
That makes sense. I like Drake May. Only other guy I had notes on is Brock Purdy. If he goes, I would need him to be full by Friday because, like, part of the appeal with Purdy is like the chaotic, weird rushes, and he can do that. The Giants generate pass rush, but they don't do a whole lot outside of that, and their secondary is super banged up. We can stack Purdy, so he's the only other guy I'd like consider, but I need a full by Friday on him. Anybody else you want to shout out here?
I'm only gonna ask just because he's indoors playing a bad defense, but Trevor Lawrence.
No.
All right.
No.
I had to ask.
You're no too, though, right?
I think my body was like, it was telling me not to ask about it too. So
fair point. Okay, so Love's a quarterback for me. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then Goff and Dart are the pretty firm likes. How about for you?
Allen, Mahomes, May.
Okay.
I'd probably go. No, I should go Goff over Dart.
Okay.
But I think that's the top 5 for me.
Cool. Let's go to running back then. We have not discussed a lot about Jonathan Taylor at $11,000, in part because his salary is $11,000, but also it's Jonathan Taylor, who is scorching souls this year. Steelers defense is not one that I think we need to fear as things stand. Honestly, I don't know if matchups matter for him right now, but the salary is very, very lofty. So I can't get to him in a cash game. What percentage of tournament lineups do you want to have Jonathan Taylor in this week?
It's so hard to do because we need to figure out how much value we end up getting for sure. What output does he need to have at 11K to be like, man, you had to have him? Is it 30 bare minimum? If he gets you 28, are you okay?
Probably 30.
I think 30.
I think you're going to ask yourself, what are the odds he gets you 30?
Yeah. 20%.
Yeah. I don't think that's outrageous. And I think that's kind of the way I want to decide how much exposure I want to have.
Yeah. I mean, the roll's so good.
Yeah.
And it's the Reds, he's overperforming touchdowns, but he's still leading in expected touchdowns based on my model. So
yeah,
it's I get it. He's not going to score 3 times every week, but
he might.
I think this team also kind of
4 times already.
I think they'd love to just we talked about the Drake May thing.
Sure.
Just lock this dude up for offensive player of the year.
I think he's minus 260 already.
Keep that going.
Yep.
So
yep. I like that, but I like McCaffrey more. McCaffrey is the core play. He is the cash game play for me. $9,500 for this red zone role, this passing game role against a defense that is struggling to stop the run. I find no issues. I assume you're on the same page with him.
Yeah, I've got the Giants defense worst by explosive rush rate allowed, and we just saw what Saquon did. So
yep. I do think that there are some intriguing plays in the 9,000 range, or sorry, the 8,000 range. Not really high in Jacobs at all. Same for you?
It's more a matter of, I think he's not 100% yet, and they probably don't need to push that too much.
Yep.
This week.
Bijan, it'd be the pass catching, which he can do, but I don't need to be crazy high on him for that. So I'll use him, but don't want to go crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs 89, kind of in the same bucket as Goff, where it's I think he'll probably not be super heavily rostered, given that James Cook is right there, given McCaffrey's right there. But this dude has a sick role. The Vikings less potent against the rush than they are against the pass. Obviously has huge yardage upside. He can score some touchdowns too. I don't want to have a ton, but I want to make sure I get there in some game stacks with Gibbs. Any thoughts for you on him?
Yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell came out and said they wanted to get David Montgomery more involved, and then Gibbs just went off for 218 scrimmage yards. And I mean, his snap rate did go down from 70% to 55% that week, but
it's because they were blowing out the Bucs and they didn't really need him.
So it's David Montgomery wasn't really out there early on. It was how are you going to take this guy off the field and Jahmyr Gibbs? So I think that he's a better version of James Cook to me, of the probability that he has a huge game is there. Also he dressed up as Jeff Hardy for Halloween. So he's got a lot of points in my book. I think it's gonna be a big week for him.
There you go. The Halloween narrative for Jahmyr Gibbs. James Cook 84 game stacks only for me, but need him in game stacks because his upside is sick. And then Kyron, they're big favorites. His efficiency / explosiveness has been better this year, but it's not an amazing matchup. Salary's kind of high. I don't feel the need to force it, but I'm more receptive to him than usual. It's just a better running back slate than usual too. So nothing against Kyron. I just think the slate's better around him. Any thoughts for you on the rest of the 8K range?
The roll for Kyron's been better than we would think. The yardage is still around that 90 per game, which isn't bad, but it's it's a little more touchdown dependent for him to come through at 8,000. So I'm probably not going to get there. And if he scores 2 or 3 times, then I missed out. But
I think the 7K range stinks. I don't mind Vidal at 77, but it's a bit of a high salary. I don't want to be in this range a lot anyway. So frankly, I'm okay with saying this range stinks. Do you kind of agree?
Yeah, nobody here made my I tried to get a little more like nitpicky with who I put on the note sheet here, and I don't have anybody for a while.
Yep. Swift 69, was he on your list at all just because of the matchup or no?
He wasn't. I also don't want to gloss over Ashton Genty, who's popping up in all of the optimizers. Do you think you'll get there at all?
No.
Or
yardage upside's pretty bad. Jacksonville has not been let up a lot of explosives to running backs. His red zone roll's good. But that's about it.
Yeah. I think the case for him is like, well, there's two teams coming off of a bye, which is peculiar, but they just come out of the bye having figured some things out and get everyone going, which is possible. I should probably be higher on Swift, but I think there's anytime you have like a secondary back who can just be like a needle in your side.
And his role is expanding.
Yeah.
I will probably get there just because of the matchup, but I like Warren more. I like Tracy. I like all these guys more than him. So maybe I even won't get there.
Yeah, I need to like, if I ever see your team in the red zone and I'm not sure you're out there, I think you have to be like below like at least 65.
I think that's fair. Anybody else you want to get to before we get to Warren?
No, Warren was the next name for me on my list.
Yeah, $6,500 for him. Talked about him in the trend section, but he is at 95 yards scrimmage per game, good red zone roll at 46%. I'm fully okay targeting the Colts defense, so don't mind that. I had nobody else until we get to Tracy at 62. Anybody else calling your name here? Any thoughts on Warren?
Like I pointed out should we worry about this defense? I don't think so. I just wanted to ask you your opinion because I've heard it kind of, and I think I could see a case for like, he's not going to have a huge game, but 65 is around that breaking point of there's no such thing as a floor, but you can sacrifice a bit of ceiling in terms of, I don't think Warren's ever going to get us 30, but I think he can get us 24 in his like high end output. I'm not touching like the Panthers backs, even if we think there's going to be a workload shift there.
Not the week for it.
David Montgomery, I'm probably not going to get there, but I kind of understand it as like everyone's playing these value backs, but you might just get a back who can throw for touchdowns and run for touchdowns, like in a game where his team might score 50. Like,
sure.
I'm not going to get there though. So I think it's Tracy at 6,000 is the next name up.
The reason that I want to be on Tracy at 6,000 is because he got a lot of passing game work last year, but you'll hear it 16 times during the telecast on Sunday. He used to be a wide receiver in college. Like that's the new Antonio Gates played basketball, but like that does matter. The skill set matters. He's going to catch some passes. I like this game a lot. No Fred Warner for the Niners helps a lot for opposing running backs. So I think he's great, and I prefer him over Kareem Hunt. Final answer for you. It sounded like you liked Tracy more before. You're going to stick with that?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that.
Okay. Any Woody marks for you at 59?
Not against his defense and not after his role went backwards.
Agreed. Okay. Scrolling down further, I will have like a couple Brashard Smith lineups. Like that's it. I can't go further than that to the pass catching. Only other guy I'm looking at is Travion Henderson at 53. Again, if we assume that there's no Ramondre for this week, because again, we could get a guy with a 65% snap rate at $5,300 on a team that has a big implied total and an MVP candidate at quarterback against a defense that is missing a good number of impactful pieces and just got beat up by the Dolphins last week. I have to like lower, like usually that'd be like a 90% play. He has to be like 60 to 70 because they seem to hate him. So like that's the reasoning, but I don't want to double count for that.
I just don't know how you can in the same breath say 60 to 70% of your lineups are going to have a guy that his team might actively hate and not trust.
Like, I've used a lot of players that teams have hated, and sometimes it just happens, I for 53, I'm willing to make that consolation.
Like I get it. I think the correct answer is somewhere in the middle where my hesitancy is probably like too amplified.
Sure.
But I could be wrong. And again, I'm going to check, like, it's the cop out, but I'm going to see what the props say.
Yeah.
And if they're like, he's going to be just kind of a guy, or it might be like, oh, he's like top 13 in rushing plus receiving yards and his salary is like way low, then I was wrong. That's cool. I'll just play him more. But I don't know if I could go above like 50%.
So the way that I think most books handle things with anytime touchdown scored, because they get posted earlier, is that they're like, okay, we'll post this as if the starter is out, so we don't get like burned in case this guy winds up getting ruled out. If you had to guess Travion Henderson's anytime touchdown odds at FanDuel, which are assuming that Ramondre does not play, what would you guess they are?
Plus 135.
Minus 115.
Okay.
So that might give you your answer on props, potentially.
Possibly.
I think it might.
We'll
see. We'll see. Okay.
I'm still not going over 50%, even if unless he's projected for like,
let's say he's in the Rico zone where Rico wasn't Chuba's out that 1 week where he was like an amazing value.
Yeah, but he was like top 12 in like rushing plus receiving yards. And I was like, okay, I was wrong. Like, I'll get there. If that's the case, then I'd probably still go like 60%. But
okay.
That's like my perfect scenario. Sounds like it's your baseline.
Yes. Basically. Okay. Loves at running back. Who are we going with?
Loves at running back. McCaffrey. Tyrone Tracy.
Yes.
Ooh. This is a tough one when I have to put like the words behind it. It's a lot of likes.
Jalen Warren is like a borderline love for me. He's not a love, I don't think, but he's a borderline love. And if there's no Ramondre, Henderson is a love for me.
I think to simplify a love for me, it's like when I'm looking at this lineup, it's like, which names am I going at? Like, who am I searching for to plug in? I don't think Warren's on that level. Tracy is. McCaffrey is.
You're right.
It might just be two, which is honestly more and more reason why I'd creep up toward that like 40-50% Henderson if there's not a lot of slam dunk options. I honestly thought I'd talk myself into some of those. Use the salary and get to like, well, I'll play a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs or I'll play more James Cook. If I don't end up there, then it also puts me more on Henderson. But I have to make sure that the receivers are there that make me want to kind of like, if I'm not playing James Cook, I got to make sure I'm playing like Rashee Rice at a similar salary kind of thing. So we'll see how many receivers there are.
Yeah, let's talk about the receivers. I have notes on a good number of guys this week, and frankly, they're in every tier. Well, not really the 7K range, but like every other tier. I've got notes on people. It's not on the top two, though. Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua. Chase, concerns around Flacco's shoulder. Nacua, concerns around game script and the fact that he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. Like, they're fine, and I don't mind it. It's not really my kind of style. So not really high on those two. What are your thoughts on Chase and Nacua this week?
Two guys who can absolutely, burn us if we don't get there. I don't know if this is the right situation for that to happen. I think that Puka, coming off of this injury, should not need 16 targets and to run, to catch bubble screens and run head first into like 3 defenders, but he's probably going to do that anyway. So I think that maybe I'm a little low on Puka, but I just don't think that they need to do that. Plus Devontae's so involved in the red zone that I don't know if Puka's like touchdown issues are going to go away.
Yeah.
So the first name that I'm like really looking at is maybe we get a classic Amon-Ra St. Brown game, who just continues to be a phenomenal football player, win in space. The problem is, and I know he's got like the 37.7 point game in week 2 against Chicago when he scored 3 times. He's still not like a, like the odds he gets you 27 are still pretty low just due to the yardage. But I think that sometimes that can win out still if you're using, if you have value backs available to you to get the guy who's going to get you like 25 FanDuel points.
Yeah.
What are you building here?
I'm trying to see if I can make it work with getting Amon-Ra, Jefferson, and McCaffrey in the same lineup. And I can. It's not the prettiest. I probably should jump down to Darius Slayton because I did use Jackson Dart as a quarterback here. So I can make it work. It's a little thin, but I think that the reason I want to look at that is because I do like the mini stack of Amon-Ra and Jefferson, because Amon-Ra is at his best. He's kind of like a tight end where you want him when their implied total is high, and it is sky high this weekend. Again, good stylistic matchup against the Vikings. And I don't think people will be there very often. And then Jefferson's the bring back 87. Again, the range of outcomes to me on McCarthy is very big. So I want to take advantage of that and get to Jefferson in a spot where he'll probably be lower rostered than he will be most of the season. Salary's not super low, but I think that as a mini game stack, these two guys are pretty fun.
I agree. Also, okay. Trayvon's down to minus 120.
Oh, okay. So interesting. All right. I don't think I'm going to show value at that number. So in your defense, like I'm not going to show value at that number in my anytime touchdown model, but I find it interesting at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Rashee Rice, 82. Is he a love for you?
Yes, he is my wide receiver one by a mile.
Okay. Pitch me on it because I agree with you, I think, but I want to hear your reasoning.
He's been, let me get the numbers right. In his 2 games, he's sitting at a 29% target share while playing 60% of the snaps. And it's not just because like they've been limiting him specifically. This team just hasn't been out there fully. He's been targeted on 43% of his routes, which is way beyond the elite number. He's at over 3 yards per route run, which is also elite. I know he's scored a bunch 3 times already through the air in 2 games, but he's got 40% of the red zone targets in this sample and 39% of the money targets. So not a lot of downfield work, but I don't mind that for a guy who can just run after the catch like this and get creative like targets and carries and just be involved near the goal line. So
he's kind of getting the like Amon-Ra role for almost 1,000 less.
Yeah,
which is nice. So
yeah, I think Rice is very easily the wide receiver one. I don't know if it's particularly close, especially because to me, things drop off a lot.
Oh, yeah. Like Adunze is fine if I use Caleb, but I'm less and less likely to do that the more I talk myself into Dart and Goff.
I just like looking at Adunze versus Rice at a $200 difference is like, I know you can't get overexposed to receivers and stuff, but I like Rome Adunze. What's that?
I can't get overexposed unless it's Alec Pierce.
Oh yeah. But just the role itself for Rice versus Adunze is like, it's really hard to go that route.
I agree. The only guy I actually wrote down in the 7K range was Nico, and that's only because like the Pat Surtain injury, and like frankly, I'm probably not going to use him just because like that total is so low. Like I took the over, but like it's still 44 for me. So like Addison's fine, T is fine. Like I can use Metcalf if I have a Colts lineup, but like I don't think any like firm standalone plays here, right?
No, I think Pittman's salary is too high.
Agreed.
We love Chris Olave on this show. I'm just not very convinced on the quarterback.
I loved like $5,900 Olave. I don't love 71 Olave with they decided they pulled the cord on the young buck and decided to put the veteran Tyler Shuck out there. He is exactly 1 year older than Spencer Rattler. They have the same birthday. I find that hilarious, personally. But
yeah. Like I think you could make a case for a hyper efficient Justin Herbert game that kind of leads to something for the pass catchers, but not sure that's it. Titans, I believe they don't run a lot of single high safety stuff, so it's probably not good for Quentin Johnston. I think this team is probably. I bet if you dug into it, I bet if you're like looking into this team, they probably do a lot based on like the defenses that they're playing.
Yeah,
but I don't really know if it's worth the effort to dig in here.
Yeah.
I could be sold on a, get right situation coming out of the bye for the Jaguars and Brian Thomas, but I think you'd have to do the burden of evidence is on you if you want to do that for me. So
like he's still hurt. He was limited in practice Wednesday. There were weird trade rumors which were denied by Liam Cohen, but like that stuff doesn't typically come out of nowhere. I think they'd be bananas to trade a second-year receiver who was like disgusto as a rookie and also played great his final year at LSU. But like it's weird vibes. So I'm not paying 69 for that. Worthy at 68, fully okay with him in game stacks. And like if I wind up at 68, I might just like plug him in there as opposed to like reworking things. Because I just think that like I get more exposure to that game. I still think he's very good. And I still think that like they want to use him in the red zone. They've used Rice, and Rice is probably the preferred target there, but like Worthy will get rush attempts in the red zone. He's like that kind of skill set with that speed is really good when things condense. So I still like him at 68, and I'm willing to go there, even potentially outside of game stacks.
Yeah, especially compared to who else is available around here. It's not great.
Agreed. It's pretty tough. JMO would be just because they want to get him going out of the bye, because Dan Campbell kind of alluded to that, but like don't think he's a good stylistic mesh for the matchup. And then it's like down to the 61 range. Anybody else in the 6K range before Jennings and Shakir you want to discuss?
I think Dobbs is still okay if you want to like sell yourself on a really efficient game from Jordan Love, but that's probably not ideal. I wouldn't mind like looking at a deeper at Stephon Diggs and Drake May situations, but that's just game stacks only. And that's the sort of tertiary kind of thought process. I think Jennings is where it gets interesting again.
Yeah, Jennings 61, Shakir 61, Travis Hunter 6,000. I think all those guys are in play. Jennings 7 targets each of the past 2 games. The Giants secondary missing some pieces, which is good for him. Shakir, I mentioned this before, but KC allows the lowest ADOT in the league, which could set up for a lot of Shakir in this game. And then Hunter 14 targets before the bye, salary 6,000, playing indoors. You know, I don't fear the Raiders defense. I think if I had to pick, probably going Shakir because I like that game most, followed by Jennings, followed by Hunter. Do you like all 3 of those guys, and how would you rank them?
Jennings, Shakir, and Hunter. I understand. Like, I think that the case for Hunter pretty much sells itself. I don't want to overreact to like the 14 targets in a negative sense, but it's just hard to trust a team when they're like, we want to get this guy going, and it takes until you're trailing in the second half to do that. And so it makes me just wonder how much you said that and how much you're like selling yourself on this. So in this specific matchup indoors, I think he could have a huge game. So I like that. So I want to be there, but I think from a probability standpoint, Jennings, Shakir, and Hunter is how I would rank them.
Okay. I think that makes sense as well. I'm scrolling to try to find one thing really quick.
Okay. Do you want to take over from here?
No, I just want to make sure. Do they have it listed here? They do not. Okay. It's one of those where it's an audio file. Disappointing.
What are you looking for?
Don't worry about it. Okay. Receivers in the 5K range. I have notes on.
You can't derail the show for 30 seconds and then just say no thanks.
Well, it's relevant to the 5K range. We got 5 guys. I took notes on the 5K range. Wandale's obviously one of them. Slayton's one of them. We talked about him. Keon Coleman's one. Alec Pierce only if Josh Downs is out. I could see that. Didn't know how to pronounce Chimere DK's first name. I knew the last name. Chimere though is apparently allegedly the pronunciation on his first name. He's got 70 and 93 yards the past 2 games for the Titans. And even before that happened, they were using this guy in the red zone. And I find that very interesting. Facing the Chargers, his salary is 53. I'm not out on DK. I don't really want to go there because I don't really want to use any Titans, but like, find him interesting. Couple passes upside via the red zone work and the long balls. So to me, 5K range as far as guys I have interest in, it includes Wan'Dale Robinson 59, who is top of my list. It includes Alec Pierce if there's no Josh Downs, given that game is pretty fun. We love Alec Pierce. Darius Slayton 55 because of the long balls. DK 53. And then Keon Coleman 52. Get exposure to Chiefs, Bills, and a guy who, in theory, has upside. What else do you see in the 5K range? And any pushback on those guys?
You mentioned so many that I don't remember. I don't know who wasn't on the list or who to push back against.
Kayshon Boutte is not on the list. Matthew Golden's not on the list. Josh Downs not on the list. Yeah.
Probably not Kayshon Boutte. I was there at different times. He's been scoring a ton, but the market shares aren't phenomenal. Golden, no, I don't think is. If his target share now spikes with Watson back, that would be something.
That would be weird.
You said Pierce, yeah.
If there's no downs, yeah.
Yeah. Probably the name that you didn't mention that I would is Christian Watson from a big play upside standpoint. Probably be nice to get him going in a game where they could probably just score 40 points, similar to what the Bills did. And I assume you said Slayton and Coleman then?
I did. Yep.
Anybody else I missed that you said that I want to yell about?
Well, DK.
I can't, and I don't know if this team's I don't know if this team's going to score a touchdown week after week. Like
they probably won't. Will I still bet a DK touchdown this week? I might.
I know it sounds really dismissive, but if you have substantial concerns, you're basically asking that the one touchdown they have or two, like one of them goes to this guy.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Okay.
Okay. Loves that receiver for you. Who are you going with?
This is also difficult. We only had like two at running back. I have Rice for sure.
Okay, I agree.
But like, I can't put like, I guess is Jawan enough for a love?
I think they're both Jawan and Wandale. Jawandale stacks. Ooh, there we go. Jawandale stacks and Warren stacks. Now we're talking.
It's like such a light love, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that Wandale's a love for me personally.
I just don't love. I mean, I think Slayton can earn enough targets, but yeah, I'd probably put. I think I'll get to Wandale a lot too. So
Rice is the only guy we're like yes on.
Like I want to make sure I have. I don't want to be like, oh man, I forgot to play Rashee Rice enough.
Yeah,
I can't have that going on. So I think it's Rice. I think this is what this is shaping up to be. Is like I said, get Rashee Rice, get McCaffrey, get like Tyrone Tracy, and then stack games.
Yeah, I think so too.
That kind of thing.
Okay, going to tight ends. I don't feel like this is the week to get to Brock Bowers. Personally,
I don't think I can force it.
Yeah. I agree with that, especially with Tyler Warren being 67, given how much the Steelers tend to struggle with like A, dynamic players, but also B, tight ends. He's both. So I like him. I prefer Kraft and Kittle, but like I do like Tyler Warren at 67 as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little dismissive on Bowers, who's been productive when he's been out there and gets a lot of work, but the salary is hard. I would rather go Warren as well.
Okay. And then to me, the two guys like duking it out for a tight end one in the slate are Tucker Kraft and George Kittle. Kraft 62, Kittle 6,000. Kraft has a huge implied total, getting good work. He's a freak. Kittle also a freak. Salary's too low for him. Like the data is not going to say like be super itchy to get there, but like his salary 6,000, we know what he is. Especially if Brock Purdy is back, like Kittle 6K would be in my cash game lineup. I think even alongside McCaffrey.
I think I'd lean Kraft.
Okay.
For whatever reason, Kittle's not getting as much of the work, and Kraft is still getting a ton of the work despite the injuries. Could be a little bit silly, but I think home game, high implied team total is a little bit nicer than on the road across the country, but it's very close.
That is very fair. The next three tight ends are Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid. I am very receptive to all three of those guys personally. Laporta would be the first one for me. Just again, I like this game a lot. And again, kind of operates in the same part of the field as Amon-Ra, where it's over the middle, can dice up this Vikings defense there. Target shares for Laporta have been better this year than they were last year. So Laporta's my favorite. Okay with Kelce and Kincaid in game stacks, though. How you feeling about the mid-range of tight end?
Yeah, I think all three are. It's a new tier, but I'd probably just lump in Theo Johnson too. All game stack dependent, but I do think that Kelce, Laporta, and Kincaid are. If I'm not playing one of the top, I mean, we glossed over Rondé Gadsden, but I don't know if I'm probably not going to get there at all.
Yeah.
So there's like kind of a top five in terms of salary. I think if I'm not there, I want to get to one of these three between Kelce, Laporta, and Kincaid. I'm not finding a ton of interest in just kind of punting at tight end necessarily.
Laporta's highest for me. Who's highest for you with that group?
Laporta as well.
Cool. Scroll. Even still has a mustache. Shave it. Okay. Theo Johnson, I get the desire there with the black hole being gone for Fred Warner. So I get that. I could see using Kyle Pitts at 51, but like I'm not probably going to do it myself. Maybe Jawan just due to like volume. Honestly, I got nothing else though. It's really below Kincaid, and I can understand Theo. I don't really see anybody else that stands out. The Falcons safeties are way too good for me to use Hunter Henry, so I have to cross him off too. Anything else for you?
No, Jawan, please. Don't do that to yourself.
Fair enough. So my loves
for 300 more, you can get a tight end tied to Josh Allen.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so my loves at tight end are Kraft, Kittle, and Laporta. Any pushback for you? Any changes?
No, I think it's the same three.
Okay. Defense, we're trying not to punt. Trying not to just.
I am. You can do whatever you want, but
okay, I'm going to punt. Which is probably why I'll have some Bengals, depending on how the Bears but like injury situation shakes out.
Okay. Like you did that last week to get you -4 against the Jets. Like
I didn't use them last. Well,
I'm just saying, like,
I did use them last week. You're right.
So you gotta
again. They were not the issue in that lineup. They were not the issue.
Okay.
But outside of that, I think the Raiders were in play.
The Raiders were the first team I had. Yeah.
Okay. They're in play at 34 because the Jags have just weird vibes. It's a 3-point spread. I think that's pretty high. Little
how many games this year do you think the Raiders have had 0 or negative FanDuel points as
most
defense?
of them.
3 of them.
That's not great.
Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Maybe
they had 16. They had 16 against the Titans. Some of them had 10 against the Patriots, but
show me the difference between the Jags and the Titans. That's a joke. It was a joke. Did not mean that seriously. Scrolling up further, the next one I get to is the Texans facing Bo Nix. Yeah. They're facing an offensive line that does not allow pressure, and Bo Nix doesn't take a lot of sacks, but like Derek Stingley Jr. is really good. Nix will make some mistakes, so I do like them. Bears against the beat up Flacco. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I could use the Jags against Geno, of course.
Me too.
And then those are the 4
I had.
Yeah.
Those
so
are the
Jags, Bears, Texans, and then Raiders, right?
I have Raiders, Texans, Bears, Jags. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Far as love, it'd probably be the Raiders because the lowest salary one I can justify.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't really do defensive loves, but
we talked through the entire slate. Any final words of wisdom for you for week 9?
I gotta really look at the props for Travion Henderson. So it's going to determine my week, I think.
So we talked about how like I'll probably be 60 to 7% Henderson. I don't think I'll go above that. Like I think I'm pretty firm in that. So like even if the props wind up being good, I don't think I'll go higher. Honestly, I know myself on Sunday morning. I might go higher, but I'm not going to want to go higher. How about that?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Once again, I think we're actually pretty aligned. Like I know the numbers we threw out were different, and I moved up, but like there's still that concern. You gotta keep things a little bit in check. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to figure out it's just gonna be a stack heavy week, I think is the real takeaway.
I'm going to tell myself people are betting Travion because they heard us discussing it on YouTube. That's what I'm going to say in my head canon about that one. That is all that we have here for this week on the Heat Check. As mentioned, though, a lot of other good stuff on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, college football, NFL, and NFL props coming up tomorrow on the feed. To get those as they are posted, turn on notifications on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Leave us a thumbs up and subscribe, but also check out the FanDuel Research Podcast feed wherever you get your podcast. Brandon, if people have questions for you on social media, where can they find you there?
I'm on X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
I'm on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes, on Threads at Jim.Sannes, and you can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Happy Halloween. Good luck to you with your Week 9 NFL DFS lineups. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been The Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.